Hey guys, everything doing under the sun. Welcome to another Airstream restoration video. This time we're putting a vent in. Now the existing vent was a fan, all aluminum fan. I think the original one, and this happens to be a 1965 Airstream trade wind camper. It is a 24-footer. And this, you can see the original one here. So of course this is all riveted in, so I took my angle grinder to it and ground all the heads off the rivets. That's how I actually did the skylight as well. Took the old one out by grinding the rivet heads off. I find that's kind of an easy, quick way to do it. And then you just kind of pop them off the rivets. This doesn't seem to damage the actual aluminum of the camper at all. Not like you see it bending this particular. The aluminum this fan must be softer or something than the actual sheet aluminum on the side of the Airstream. That being said, you need to be careful anyways. You can see all the old putty in there coming off on the bottom there. Like I said, it took a while to grind, and I did have my iron protection on. You gotta have that on because pieces of metal are just going flying everywhere. There was just metal dust everywhere, aluminum dust. So I finally got this off. It was an old 12-volt fan. It was seized up, and we took the bathroom out of this anyways. I don't intend on putting one in. If I do, I can always put a fan in here. That's not a problem at all, to stick a fan in there or something else. So right now I'm just cleaning it up, getting all the putty off, and then I take the angle grinder and get the rest of the stubs of the rivets that are still there, grind those all off the top, and just to get a smooth finish. The next thing is where I go ahead and kind of clean it. So there, I'm just feeling the edge of it to make sure it's smooth, to make sure there's no bumps, and so that the putty can actually make a nice good flat seal. And the vent itself will seat flatly as much as possible on the roof. So here I've just got some window cleaner. I guess you can use any cleaner. Any liquid, really, probably water would be fine, honestly. But I happen to have some glass and window cleaner. First I scraped kind of the big chunks of putty off that were still left over. And then I sprayed it out with the window cleaner and just rubbed it down with a rag, which in this case was an old t-shirt. Pretty straightforward process. Nothing rocket science about it. It's, you know, you're just doing a quick job just to get the any big particles off it, any putty that might be left over. Like I say, you just want a smooth surface to put your brand new vent on, because that's going to be your water seal, so it has to be straight and flat. So here's the dry fit of it. Of course, I want to make sure that it's going to fit before I put any putty down. This is a part of the video where I dry fit the vent, make sure it's opening to the back, because we don't, the front of the trailer is this way, we don't want the wind catching the vent hood, of course, and sucking that thing right off. Seems to fit pretty well. Let's go on the inside, we'll take a look at it. Of course, it's this is all going to be pulled down once I get the screws in there, and all the putty along there. Here's the interior look of the dry fit. Of course, we can open up the vent and just again double check that it's opening towards the back, and it is, because that's the front of the camper. So even just with that, it looks pretty good. Once it's sealed, it's pretty good, but it does come with a nice little skirt to it, and the skirt should fit up underneath it like this. Once I might have to cut this skirt down a little bit. I might leave it off anyways, because I need to kind of clean that out and maybe paint that, because there's already a bit of a metal edging to that anyways. And like I say, once it's sealed, you're not going to see daylight up in the corners. Once I get the putty on there and get it all screwed down, that'll be fine, and I think it looks pretty good. Oh, and I do have to do something with those wires there, which you saw me had to cut. I had to cut those. But this is going to work out real nice. Fits perfectly. This is a standard 14-inch vent, and you can see it fits perfectly in this 1965 Airstream. So I'm glad they make vents kind of standard sizes. All the campers that I've had have all been 14-inch. So that's nice. And in an absolute emergency, I guess you could use it as an escape hatch. You wouldn't get through it very quickly, but I can certainly fit through there. Alright, so now I'm going to tuck those wires in, and I'm going to go to the top, put the putty down, and get a couple of screws in there. I don't know if I'll have enough time right now. I'm on my lunch break, but we'll do as much as... So I was just checking my lighting. I think there was actually 12 volts that did kind of go into the motor and loop back out. Of course, one was already... No, one was not cut. So anyways, I think I need to connect these two up to continue 12 volts up to the front, because my light, my sconce light, whatever you call it there, is not working. The roof light does work. I think that's power is coming from the side. It's a little bit different, but this one up here doesn't work, and my porch light doesn't work. So I think the 12 volt passes through there. It'll be a quick test on the voltmeter, but it's fine. I have enough wire there. I can lock that vent hood down and fix that up with a couple morettes. I'm not too concerned. There is still area in there where I can kind of tuck it up under. You can't really see it, but I can push it back in there. I think once this is on. If I don't, as long as I don't put the skirt on, I don't think I'll put the skirt on anyways. I don't think I need the skirt. It does finish off the look, but... Oh, I think the skirt goes in between here. I'm just seeing a crack there. The skirt must go in between there, so maybe even with the... Try a skirt. Oh yeah, okay, maybe the skirt goes up in between there, so maybe I don't even have to cut the skirt down. Oh, that's interesting. But anyways, I'm going to leave the skirt for whatever you call this, a garnish. I think they call it a garnish. I'm going to leave that for another day. I'm just going to go ahead and get this. Alright, here comes the putty. This is real simple. You just put the putty around the edge of it. Basically, ideally, it will, your screws or rivets that you put through will kind of go through the middle of it, so it seals where your rivets are going in. I didn't hit it in all cases, but it was pretty close. And as long as the screws are on the outside of the putty is really the water barrier there. So you want to make sure that there's a nice flat surface and that the putty touches the bottom all around the vent. It was a hot day, so the putty is actually really sticky. It's like gum. You can just see it pulling apart like gum there. But it's really easy to work with. I mean, again, you can't really screw this up too bad. You just rip it off, put some more on. If you have a little bit extra at the side after you put the vent on, you just take it off. And a little bit of bumps there or overlap doesn't make a difference because you're going to press it down with the vent anyways. And if you think you've got some place for gaps, you can put a double layer of putty down if you have enough putty. So here again, just like the dry fit, you're just putting it in nice and slowly. You don't want to make it permanent right away until you see that it's going to fit squarely and that you've got the putty in the right place. And at this point, I think that I do. So I go ahead. Now I'm using self-tapping screws with a socket. I don't know what you call it, socket head, as opposed to like a Robertson or a Phillips head or something like that. Just happen to be the screws I had around. I do like the self-tapping. They're super easy to put these on. It's a no-brainer. You don't have to drill stuff. You don't have to pre-drill stuff, rather. You just start screwing this in. Now, the nice thing about it is, if I want to rivet it later, I can just pull these screws out and use the existing hole and put the rivets in. The nice thing about having these is that, if you have to replace this or you got a leak or something, you just unscrew it all and you can fix whatever leak there is there and go forward. You don't have to grind off rivets. And yeah, it's not a permanent thing. It's not going to last forever. If you're an Airstream purist, you're going to put rivets in there. But for me, this is an old camper anyways. It's not going to last another 200 years. So self-tapping screws fit the bill for me. The ease of use, you don't have to drill and then screw. I love the self-tapping screws. In this case, I couldn't get the screws in the very back of it because the lid was actually in the way. So I was able to actually bend the lid out of the way. It's fairly pliable right now. That after 5-10 years, it's going to be pretty brittle as the sun kind of attacks it. But right now, it's pretty bendy, so I was able to kind of bend it and bend the back of it out of place and then back into place to get it back on. So that's good. There's probably a proper way to do that, but it seemed to work anyways. The plastic on this was, like I say, it was pretty pliable. I don't know if it was just the heat or whatever, but it seems to be a thicker, more durable, kind of flexible plastic, so we'll see. Alright, there's the skylight in. Vent. Looks a little bit torqued over here because I think it's kind of bent to follow the curve of the top of the Airstream. It's not perfect, so it's a little bit buckled out there. You can see this side is kind of straight. All in all, it went pretty well. I think a lot of the putty got squished in there. Can you see that? Putty got squished in there, so that's good. Most of the screws grabbed. There's maybe one or two that spun, and that's. I found that was the case with the skylight as well. You'd meet an existing hole, an existing rivet hole or something, or you drilled too hard. Even the lowest setting on my Makita drill is too powerful. It just pulls the screws right through the aluminum. Now, of course, if you were a purist, you'd be riveting these things. But honestly, for the next person, and if I need to replace this, it's kind of nice to have screws. And if you take those screws out, you should be able to use the existing holes, because, I mean, over the next couple of years, this exact same vent should be available, which probably has the same screw dimensions that exist there. This is nice now, because now I can feel the cool air coming from the side windows and going out the vent. So now I feel quite the flow from this window, because now the cold air is actually rising. It's going through the vent that's now open, and that's really going to help to air out the Airstream and cool it down. Oh yeah, I can feel a nice breeze right now. So that's doing its job. This is exactly what you want, and it's got a nice screen on it. It's not the highest quality thing, but it's not like you're having kids like scratching it and cats scraping on it and junk. The only thing you got to remember, obviously, with these manual fans is to let it down when it rains, as opposed to the fantastic fans, which you plug them into 12 volts, and if it starts raining, they shut automatically. But I mean, this is pretty easy. Look at that. Shut. Open. Really easy to operate. Better than a crank one or something. That'll be real nice. It's all plastic. It's, like I say, it's cheap. You'll note that to get the lid off, I did bend the back of it. It's nice and pliable plastic right now. After a couple of years, it's going to be pretty brittle, I would think. But right now, I was able to bend it enough to kind of take it off and get the screws in. So next, I won't do it in this video, but I'll have to put these back together, figure out if 12 volts is actually coming through these, put them back together, and then see what I'll do with the garnish. I'm not too concerned about that for now. I'll put that on at a later date, and I'll just put this away in a cupboard for now. Actually, I'll just slide it right up there, and I'll forget about it for a couple of months. This was kind of the last big project before we can really camp in it, because I got the screens in otherwise. So, thanks for watching, guys. Another successful install of a vent on another camper, and we'll see you guys in the next video.